Hey everybody, what's going on? Sean with Triangle of Truth here, back with another video. So this week, I thought I would share my long-awaited haul, at least for me, that I got from my local comic shop. It's been a few weeks, just been really busy trying to make sure, get everything with work and get situated before I went on vacation. So I hadn't been in a couple weeks, so what I got was actually a pretty decent sized pull box for this week. Spoiler alert. Some of these I've already read before doing this video, and then some of them are continuations of other single issue series that I've got, and two of them are actually trades of series that I actually have not read but wanted to take a chance on. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and get the trades out of the way first. This first one is from Image, and it's been a series that I've kind of been peeking at for about a month, and wasn't really sure if I wanted to start with just issue 1 to see what I thought of it, or go ahead and just get volume 1. But after much deliberation, I said, you know what, screw it. I'll get volume 1 because I'm pretty sure, given that it's about vampires, somebody in this house is going to like it if I don't. So, with that said, I have Philadelphia from Image. And the premise behind this one, at least for starters, is that a guy has to go back to Philadelphia to bury his dad. He's a well-known, respected detective, and when he goes back, he kind of learns that, the city that he left behind is not all sunshine and rainbows anymore. It's kind of become crime-infested. There's a lot of killings going on, and so he gets kind of, and his father was, I guess, involved in it in some way, so he kind of gets drug into this little deal with vampires. There is, the only thing I will say is you eventually find out that there is a huge historical character in American history behind the vampires and what's going on, and I will leave it at that. Or for anybody who has read this, you know what I'm talking about. Let me know in the comments at least whether you liked it or not. I would love to hear that. So that's Philadelphia from Image Comics. This next one is one that when we first walked in the door, our shop has an end cap that is literally local and small, very small artists and writers that they promote their stuff and we're able to buy. And that's where this next one came in. And when we first walked in the door, Jay had pointed it out and I didn't really notice it, but he goes, hey, that one looks pretty cool, blah, blah, blah. Fast forward about 15 minutes later, I'm coming by the thing, and so is Jenna, and again, this was kind of pulled off and actually shown to me, and it was like, this looks like it'd be pretty good. And it is called Mississippi Zombies, a horror anthology. And of course, so the cover, as you can see, looks really, really cool. Well, I started flipping through it, and the artwork is all in black and white, but it reminds me very much of some like old school stuff that I would see or that I have seen. And it looked really good, and just given that a lot of the new horror stuff I've been reading over the last several months has been zombie based, I figured, let's give it a try. Plus you're supporting a small local artist, which I am more than happy to do at any point, because sometimes those are just the diamonds in the rough that you can find. So I got that one, and once I read it, I might bring it back as a suggestion of the week, maybe do a review on it, but definitely will try to let people know either on here or on Instagram what my thoughts on it were. So now let's shift over to my single issues. So for this particular trip, as some people know, Jenna works at the comic shop that we all go to, and we were going there beforehand, but now that she's in there, but she's one of the ones that knows that I said, just if there's something that looks interesting, just put it in my box. Especially if it's a number 1. So that's what there is. There's a lot of issues in here that were just gambles. Like, man, let's throw this, as they say, throw pasta against the wall, see if it sticks. And the first one is again from Image, and it's called Stillwater. And this is issue 1. This is one of the ones that I've read. This definitely is going to be an exceptional series. And Image in general, just this year, at least from everything I've read, I'm sure they've been killing it for a while. But especially this year, a lot of what they're writing is just top notch. I mean, I can't honestly think of a bad read from Image that I've read since the beginning of January or February. And this is no exception. It's about a guy who basically just has issues keeping a job. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, one day, he gets this letter from, like, I guess a great aunt that wants him to come home to Stillwater, is the name of the town. And I guess, but they don't say why. So he gets to it, Stillwater, and it's just this small town. The sheriff kind of at first is not real sure of him. Tries to play like good cop or bad cop in this instance. It's just him when he pulls him over. But in the end, tries to be real friendly, allows him to go into town. And you see this crazy act with a kid jumping off the top of a building. And then within minutes, and of course, the main character sees this, freaks out, is like, somebody called, a doctor, blah, blah, blah. And he picks the kid up and runs to a doctor's office. Well, upon getting in there, the doctor tells him, like, look, you're just going to want to pack up and leave. And next thing you know, this kid just gets up, he's fine, and walks out like nothing happened. And that's the twist. That's where everything kind of comes in and change the entire dynamic of the whole comic for me. There's still a little bit more that happens towards, the last few pages after that, but, check this out if your local comic shop has an issue of this. I really think this is going to be an exceptional read. This next one, I want to say for me was definitely the most out there, I guess is the best way to put it, of the gambles that we took. But it is from Aftershock, who is just, to use a word that I use often, they're just killing it this year. With, everything that they're writing and things that I've read that they've written in the past. And this one's called Lonely Receiver, #1. This one, for me, took a minute to really kind of figure out what's going on. Because I really didn't read a synopsis of it before getting into it. I just opened the book and read it. That's what I did with Stillwater as well. And this one is about a woman. This is in the future, by the way. And, I forget what year they say. And has a relationship with someone that's, I guess, created for her. The other thing I can't really say is how it was done. And, I mean, there's some... This is definitely not a kid's comic to read. There's this couple of scenes in there where... Yeah, they get a little raunchy. A couple of lines that just made me say, what the F and whatnot. But in the end, it was still an extremely intriguing read because I want to see where it goes. Because in the end, they end up splitting up, even though and whatnot. And so the main character is having just some severe withdrawals. And the way they make this sound is like the relationship was with her phone. So that's where I want to read issue 2 to see if they tie in a few things, see what maybe I didn't get the first time around that maybe is explained better in that issue. But definitely was out there, but it's still a good read. So I definitely am ready to check out issue 2. This next one is an issue 2 of a series we took a gamble on last month. It's from Boom Studios, and it's called 7 Secrets. And I really like this series so far, just in the 2 issues. The first issue, they do a good job of kind of setting up where some of the story is coming from. It's about a kid who was born into this secret cult that guard the 7 secrets of the world. And if any one person has these, the power that they can have is just too much. So this society guards these secrets with, it's 7 pairs of 2 people. There's a secret keeper and a holder, whom I guess holds the case with the secret or something in it. And this boy's parents, who, basically are killed in the first issue. For anybody who has read it, sorry, that's a spoiler. And so what they do in the second issue is it's actually the boy telling the story. So what they're doing in this one is now they're giving you his background on what it was like for him to grow up when he came into this society, what it was like for his training, and what it was like when he got to meet his parents, because they actually had to give him up at birth because it's against the rules of the society that they can have a child. But he does eventually get to meet them, and they tell him who he is and this and that. So it is very cool, and there's a one-line twist towards the end of it, in which he says something. That really makes me wonder how they're going to tie in the rest of this series. I'm going to leave it at that because I really hope you go pick this up, both issues 1 and 2, and check it out because it's going to be a really, really good series. This next one was actually a surprise for me that I've been waiting for 2 weeks. They wouldn't tell me, Jenna wouldn't tell me specifically what it was. But when I saw it, I was really happy because it was a comic that when I saw it was announced, I was really excited to want to get a hold of it because it's based off of one of my current favorite TV shows that I'm waiting on season 3 for. And the good news is this comic is kind of like a little bit of a story between seasons 2 and 3. But that is the Orville Launch Day Part 1. It's from Dark Horse. For anybody who knows the TV show, there's not much I really need to tell you that you wouldn't know coming into this. At least you know the crew, you know the Orville, you know what's going on between them and the Krill Empire after last season and everything. So there's just not much there, but it's a really cool story about. Honestly, I'm trying to figure out how they're going to do it in 2 parts because it feels like they could have made this a big thing, but it's a nice little investigation on what a society that used to be in the Union 20 years prior, and they withdrew, and now this launch day is upon everybody. So, they've been sent to investigate because the Krill were just going to go attack them and just destroy whatever this big thing is that they've created. And Mercer and whatnot talk them out of it, and they give them 2 days to find out what's going on. So that's all I'll tell you because that's pretty much the premise of the entire story. So I'm very excited to get part 2 of this and just kind of see how it plays out. My next one is another number 1, and it's from AWA Upshot, who, if you guys have not heard of this company, please go check them out. They literally, as far as I know, just started releasing everything within this year, and everybody in this household has read many things by them, or most of at least what their catalog has been thus far, and they've all been good. So this is a 1 through 4 miniseries called Grendel, Kentucky, and this is number 1 of a 4-parter. That was kind of redundant, wasn't it? But number 1 of 4, and it starts out, it's 2 kids come home to Grendel, Kentucky, and it's set in 1971. So I thought that was pretty cool. So we get kind of more of a historical take. Their dad has died. And at the beginning of the book, they actually don't say how he died. You just kind of see him strapping up, and he goes in with a bunch of guns and this and that, flop to another page or so, and it's first the son finding out about their father, and then he goes to look for his adopted sister, who is actually the leader of some kind of biker gang. And she comes home, they do the funeral, and this seems like a very ho-hum comic, they reminisce, they talk, this and that. And then they kind of start plugging the twist into you where it's like, do you really think Dad was killed by a bear like they say? And they both are like, no, not a chance. The very last page, like 2 panels, the twist comes, and I'm just, you can't do that to me. I had feelings when I got to that last page. I need more, and I need it now. That's all I'm going to say. I need more, and I'm ready to finish this because I want to see what it is that they kind of give you this little glimpse of. It's just, all I will say, it's a set of eyes. Eerie, freaky eyes, and you see a claw. That's it. That's all they show you. So I got to know what this is. And to go through the entire comic, making it seem like that, and then you get that on the last page, hook, line, and sinker, I'm ready to go. Alright, moving on. We're back to Image again. Kind of see a theme here. Image just, murdering it this year. This was one, when I saw this, they posted up the cover before the release on their Instagram. And they give you a little brief bit in the description of the photo. I was like, oh, gotta check this out. I have not read a lot of comics that have to do with like magic. Most of, it's either been my superheroes, it's been horror, it's been your slashers and gores, but I haven't done a lot of magic. Curse Words might be the only other one magic based that comes to mind, and even that one's, that, and I guess God Country as well, in a sense. But this, rambling, sorry. But this is Inkblot #1. And again, read this one. Super cool. The cat is one of the big things. And it just starts out with the main character, and I forget her name, but she is one of, I believe, 6 or 7 children. And the eldest was, I guess, the one that kind of founded all the magic and this and that, and created this castle that is rooted, and the way they describe it is they're in one of, I guess, 6 or 7 realms. But in their main home, they, hunted and conquered and provided, for everything. Well, obviously you can only kill so much before you start running out of your supply of food. And somehow within all this, they figure out ways to get into the other realms and to conquer, which is what most of them wanted to do. Well, as they say, some of them were like conquer, some of them wanted peace. One was like science, and she's like the keeper, the bookkeeper, and she writes down all the tales and this and that kind of stuff. But apparently she also has magical abilities, and she has a way of, when she writes things, I guess, she can write it and say it in such a way that it conjures up some stuff. Well, in the middle of her writing, as they're doing the intro, she falls asleep. And somehow in the middle of this, you see this big cloud and blah, 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 and all of a sudden, poof. That's where that little kitten on the cover comes from. And this cat is magical in its own right. And basically, anytime it says meow, it opens a portal to one of the other dimensions. Whether it is like sentient enough mentally that it knows what it's doing is yet to be explained, but it just meows and it'll open a portal. Well, she ends up trying to find the thing and runs through into one of her siblings' realms, and it's just comedic. A couple of giants are fighting, and they try to go after her, and they end up chasing her, this and that, and she's like, "Cat, get us out of here!" Blah blah. And of course, immediately, almost on command, cat meows, and boom, opens a portal back to her library, which is kind of what you see, where she's keeping all of her writings and stuff. And he gets back into it, and it kind of ends there. And I'm really curious to see where it goes, because I do love a lot of magical stuff. I may not be huge into certain things, but I'm starting to get there where I'm more into it. And magic has always been a fascination for me. So I'm really curious to see the way they tell the story and how it will unfold. So definitely another one of my favorites out of the entire read. So definitely check that out. All right. Moving along, I've got a few more. I'll try not to ramble too much. Back to another Boom Studios one, and this is called We Only Find Them When They're Dead. This is issue 1, just came out. I will say that this is one of those where the story is a bit vague in the book. They kind of tell you that, humans or people were just kind of did nothing but fight and this and that, and then these gods, as they call them, came along and they got them out of the old ways into the new ways. And they keep kind of saying, the first time I saw a god, this and that, and what it ends up being is where the title comes from is We Only See Them When They're Dead, is apparently when these gods die, that's when they can see them. And these gods are gigantic, I guess, cosmic beings, because they're all in spaceships. And what these people do is they all, I guess, come in, take a bid, and they harvest, for lack of a better word, off of these gods. Like, for instance, the ship that they're following gets their cheek and whatnot. So they cut off all the meat, everything in their little area, and they go to sell it, and this is how they make money and live. The one thing I will say, the story's vague, so I was a little Visually, for me anyways, this was a very stunning book. The artwork was amazing, and those who know me and have followed the channel know I'm a bit of an art snob when it comes to some of these books. So the visual aspect is what made me kind of continue reading through it and wanting to read the next one to see what kind of detail they go into, because like I said, I want to see where this story goes, and then eventually, sometimes there is an issue where everything clicks in my head and I get exactly what they're talking about. But selfishly, I also just kind of want to see more of this artwork. For anybody who's a bit of an art geek like me, if art's really one of your big things when reading a comic, check that one out for sure. My last number one that I have, I believe, is a series that's been out for a little bit, but it's from a local company here called Red 5 Comics. Big fan of theirs. I've read Drone. I've got Haunted. I've got Riptide, the other series that this is based off of. And so I'll segue into that. This is Riptide Draken, which, if you can see on the cover here, a little Loch Ness type monster here. That's what this particular one is based around. It seems like. I've not read any of this particular series yet. I've not read this issue, but I am excited to read it because, like I said, I've got the trade of the other run of Riptide, and Red 5 in general has just great stuff. So I was definitely glad that I was surprised with this in my box as well, and I'm excited to dive into that. It's only a 4-parter, so if I like it, I will probably just wait for the trade, because I think all 4 issues are out. So if I like it, just grab the trade, add on to it, because I love having trade paperbacks and hardcovers, and go on from there. All right, moving along. These next few are ones that are series that are ongoing for me. The next one, hopefully people are reading this one. It is again from Aftershock. It's called Join the Future. This is number 5. Hopefully you guys have checked this out. It is really cool. It's such a cool concept. It's one of those, to put it simply, it's like big corporation trying to bully the little people, the small towns, and this and that. You've seen it time and time again in movies, comics, animes, cartoons. You see it all the time. So it's not an unfamiliar concept with what they do and some of the tactics that these people are willing to make. But it is such a good story. And I don't know if this is the end of the entire series or not, but the way they do this, I'm guessing it's at least a finisher of this first arc. So I'm excited to dive into it, see where they go with it. And I'm going to leave it at that. This next one is another series from, I believe it's Vault Comics. I should have known that right off the bat. It is called Bleed Them Dry. This is number 3. The only thing I'm going to tell you about this series is it's Ninja Vampire Detective. What more do you need to know? Go get the first 2 issues. The first issue leaves you on like a holy crap cliffhanger. The second issue lets you tie in a little more to what's going on with a couple of the main characters. I would say it's like that sophomore curse. It wasn't quite as like boom as the first issue was to grab you, but it still segues, and I'm ready to see what issue 3 has and see where they go, if there's another like shock factor that they'll bring back to the story. So definitely check it out. Not to mention it's based in Japan. I love Japanese culture, old and new, just fascinating to me. So, and this takes place, I think, in a future where there's vampires and humans coexisting. I'll give you that. Alright, and the last one is issue number 10. I've got a review on the channel. This is my favorite ongoing series, and that is Something is Killing the Children from Boom Studios. Issue 10. Pretty sure this is going to tie up the second part of this story. The one thing I really do like, though, so far is a lot of comics will do, you know, when they do a trade, it's a story arc, and then we're moving on to a different arc. This one, to me, has been 10 issues of the same arc. So it's been this big, grand story, and they just keep adding these little nuances. They're really taking time to tell this story. And whereas I'm normally big on some of these like smaller, like 1 through 4, 5, or 6 runs where that's the entire story and they give you everything and it's a lot of wow factor, this one has not bored me at all so far in the first 9 issues. And I know I'm not going to be bored when I read this one. I cannot stress enough, I cannot say enough how much fun this is to read. If you are a fan of monsters and your horror stories and this and that, it is, not to mention the artwork is super cool. What they do, the type of monsters is really, really awesome. So, and the main character is, even through 10 issues, is still really an enigma. And that's one of the draws to me for it, is because you still want to know more about her. And they're gradually giving you tidbits. Like in issue 9, they really kind of give you a little bit on her past and whatnot. She finally opens up a little bit for the first time. And even still, she's still very, very enigmatic in what, you know, in her origins and what her society really and truly does and what they've been around for. So go check it out. Volume 1 covers issues 1 through 5. Everything else, 5 through 10 right now, is all singles. They'll probably do another trade, but definitely go ask your local comic shop. Go to Boom's website, order all this. It is, again, just can't recommend it enough. Alright guys, well that is my entire haul. Sorry I rambled a little bit, but this was just one of those weeks where I was super excited to go up there, pick these up, see all these new surprises, you know, and these gambles, as I like to call them, you know, and just checking them out. And, you know, I hope you guys have read some or most of these. You know, if so, let me know in the comments. Also, as always, give me something that you want me to go check out. I will give anything a read at least once. If I don't like it, I don't like it, but I am super happy that you at least shared something like that with me. As always, guys, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you next time. Later, everyone.